Searching for the
Oh,
perfect venue to celebrate your...
good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Show Business. And it's going to be slightly different today because my partner in crime, Ammar, is not here. But we have been replaced with Allan Curry, who's been on our show on numerous occasions. Good morning, Allan.
Hi, Jalf. I'm off. But as you know, you're a Newcastle United supporter, and maybe we'll discuss some of that beforehand. But
Yeah,
this is reality, isn't it? Off the subs bench to replace the man.
Well, you know, sometimes those that come off the subs bench, like Hosselu did against in the Champions League. Remember Hosselu, Allan?
Oh, absolutely.
He used to play for Newcastle. Couldn't kick a barn door, right? And he comes on the Champions League semi-final and he takes Real Madrid into the final. So sometimes, you know, the substitutions make the impact that the long-standing players can't make. So there you go.
You know how to make a man feel really good. But I was listening to one of the shows, because I do the talk sports stuff and things like that. And apparently he scored more goals for Real Madrid than he scored for Stoke and Newcastle. Would you believe that? And I got a text off one of my friends. I can't obviously repeat the words he said. It was Yosselu, and then there was a couple of little swear words afterwards with the context. He never played like that for us.
Well, the thing is, to be honest, I think the fans actually did give him a lot of support. It's just that when he got anywhere close to the goal line, it was like a rabbit in headlights. So. Yeah. That's just how it was. He's actually a lovely lad. I met him a couple of occasions in town, but yeah, with his like wife and his pushing a pram and stuff. But it's still really nice to see, you know, someone that they're still dedicated footballers, aren't they, Allan? If they can't, you know, as you said, that not everyone can be the mainstay in a global football club. And for someone to come off the bench and get all that glory, it was just so nice because...
You know, there's a nice little link there. Are you not supposed to say things about clues, tips, etc.? As I listen to you, know, when you usually do a little bit spiel that you're famous for, should you not say that?
Sorry, say that, Gandhi.
No, when you say, we're going to give you some clues, tips, and how to...
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I think my brain's a bit fried because Ammar usually... you know, I've been doing it for so long, so Ammar usually gets that going and I just submissively know where to start and what to say. So I think probably I probably won't be able to get it done today. So let's give that a...
Okay, well, how have you been? Well, no, I was going to say, bear in mind, we talk about show business, and obviously the link is the way Ammar puts things together. An interesting link, just the way you were talking there, being Yosselu as being part of a team, and you're in business in the context of obviously the restaurants you own and run and very successfully, and obviously I've been a client and with you and watched how you've developed over the years. Where does a team fit into a business?
I think the team is the business. It's quite interesting you should ask that question, and I've been doing reviews with my management team. And I've kind of sat there and I've been saying to them, actually, do you know what? I'm just a independent operator from Newcastle upon Tyne. And now, as we've grown, we've got, you know, 125 members of staff, and we're bringing in some, you know, top talented hospitality individuals, whether it be in the kitchen or the front of house from around the world, whether it be from Dubai, Qatar, you know, we bring a lot from London. We have an amazing general manager whose origins are from the Philippines. And she has a bit of a following of people that want to work with her, and other people join her from all sorts of different backgrounds. But one thing I've noticed, Allan, and that I haven't really experienced before, and that there seems to be a little bit more clashes between team members. Right. So yeah, so I'm just kind of experiencing this as a new problem that I haven't kind of experienced before. So I said to them openly, I said, look, you know, we're entering into new realms, and I'm facing slightly different types of problems, and you know, I have to use my gut instincts to try and dissect them really, really quickly and try and give a solution, because ultimately I'm still the leader. I'm accountable for the ultimate, failure or the success of the businesses, whilst the team are a huge part of that. So I kind of worked it out, and I said to myself, do you know what? I've worked out that because you're getting more successful individuals, they actually have bigger egos.
Right.
So then I've learned now that my role has to change, because whilst I've always been an operator, I have to now become the manager of the managers, the management team. But now actually the role now is to manage the egos and the personalities, and make sure that when you got an individuals in the room, they have different personalities. I'm the one that has to be able to bring that together and make sure I'm diffusing situations and different disagreements. The only great thing is they're all very focused professionals. Ultimately, they want the same outcome, to make sure that the guest experience is the best that you can give.
Yeah.
But along the way, they've got different sections and they've got different passions and personalities. Front of house, the guest wants the food within a certain time frame. The kitchen want to make sure that it's going to have to be perfect before they release it. There might be a delay from where the front of house see it. They want it now, and the kitchen said, well, you have to wait, and you have these clashes.
No,
because they've got big.
Interesting, because obviously, Jeff, my background's public sector, and you know what, I retired through the police service, but at that same period, I had what you're describing, different ranks and different responsibilities. And the key thing is probably forming a team. Now, you've already highlighted the fact that the objective is the guest experience, right? Now, you can get it in the mission statements, objective, etc. But they have their view of the world, and probably your experience a different sort of style, because as I moved up through the ranks in the police service, you have, you can be an inspector, so you've got 25 people, you be a chief inspector, you've got 100. When I finished, you had 500 people. And trying to get them all to do the same thing and have a common purpose actually relies on people like yourself to ensure that there's a team. I think, and part of the business, the reason I mentioned this, and it was interesting to hear that, is, okay, we're on a program called Show Business, and part of the things you and Ammar talk about is how do people, or how you can impact your experience or Ammar's experience in relation to a wider audience. So the guy who's got a shop with 3 staff indirectly has the same problems you have.
Yes, I think that's where I originated from. So that's why I was saying to the team, well, we're into a new realm. And, the thing is, you have to be versatile, and you have to adapt, and you have to be able to still be able to lead a team of a lot more skilled individuals that surround me today. And you still have to be able to show them and develop them as well, which is, if you think about it, Alan, I've got some super talented individuals. Some of them, they're in their specialist area, they're far better than myself. That's why we brought them on board. So how do I then find a way to motivate them and develop them? Because that has to be my role, and they have to feel as though that, they're being challenged. Otherwise, talented individuals, they always want to get better and better and better and be challenged. Otherwise, they get bored. So it's kind of interesting, and it's challenging me as well to think in a particular way. And I think it's nice, because we know our framework, our mentality has evolved a lot. So I think it's good. But ultimately, Alan, just to finish off the point, I said to the team, I said that, look, whatever issues you have between each other, be honest with each other. Don't hold things within yourself, and deal with all situations in a mature way, and still maintain that family loving spirit. Because I said to them that I can't lose certain principles that's brought us to where we are, and we want to. Yes, you may have come from a corporate background, but I prefer our own family background and bring those values into the business, because they're a bit more caring and they're not so cutthroat, and you know, you're more empathetic towards each other. And so I want to still retain those values, and I want these individuals who may have a corporate mentality because of their background to come and understand how we want them to adjust their mentality. Ultimately, I feel that closeness, that care, empathy, and just being in an environment where there's bigger opportunities and it's going to be a nice journey, and you get to meet some really amazing people on that journey because of the type of guests that we have coming in. And I think those are the only things that I can really say to them at this stage. And maybe it's when I encounter some more problems moving forward, then I'll have to. I don't have an answer to what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of our progress and development, but I think that the job is to, maybe it's your gut instincts and your decision making should have been built by experiences that you've had in the past, but the values that you feel are key to the success, you have to always go back to those and work on the individual and make sure you drive those to the rest of the team. And I think you've got a good basis to evolve.
Yeah, no, do you know what interesting listening to you and the voyage you're on, and obviously in the private sector, and I've watched over the years when we've been together how it's progressed. And one of the questions we used to ask ourselves, and certain times when we were doing interviews, what's the difference between a manager and a leader? And actually, what you're displaying and explaining, I think, is you know how to do both. It's balancing when to be the manager and when to be the leader. And that's for other people to listen to. You can't always be the leader because sometimes you have to stand back, but sometimes you have to be the manager, and the manager is a different persona to the leader, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think you've probably articulated in a different way, and maybe after you leave, you might think about it, but I think you're displaying both qualities, which other people have to in business.
Yeah, I think you have to let you've got to. I think business is, in a nutshell, it's actually quite easy, right? Because when you have like you mentioned, a news agent and he's got 3 employees, most likely, now I remember when I was like 14, 15 years old, working in my dad's restaurant. And I used to think to myself at that age, oh, I'm the best waiter here. I'm better than everybody. Like I can set the tables nicer. I can engage with guests. I've got an eye for detail. I'm fast. You know, A, B, C, and D. And then people, it's quite interestingly, people used to say, well, you know, yeah, we can see, you know, you're gonna do well, or you're gonna kind of take over the realm or whatever else. But then you go and open your own little business, and there might be 3 of you, and you're actually the best. And you're getting people, because your mentality is, oh, I'm the best. I can go and open something, and there's 3, 4, 5, 6 of us working. And I'm doing everything and teaching everyone and A, B, C, and D. And that's how you move forward. But as you get bigger, you realize actually, no, you need to get people that are better than you and be surrounded by people that are better than you. Because in that way, you've got more experts around you, not thinking that you're the best, and getting the best around you.
No, I like to say, you know, I might not know the answer, but I know a man who does. But delegation's an interesting way of operating, because if we think we're the best and we do everything ourselves, nobody ever grows. The reverse is, I go back to the statement I said before, those who you delegate to need to have responsibility to make mistakes because you're the leader or the manager. But on the same token, they also need to know the position of who is the leader and the manager. And as I say, not to be frightened to make mistakes, because I'm sure the guest experience is not perfect every time. It cannot be, because you're dealing with people. But on the same token, as long as it's not in reality a magic mistake by somebody who you've told differently, then you can manage that. It's about understanding the people who work for you. And what you're saying is that you've got some great people. Maybe they just, I'm not saying they don't. I know you well enough to know you will do it. You'll manage them accordingly. But different. It's interesting when you say now 150 staff, when you think about it over the years that I've known you, that's a real big issue to manage all those people and understanding it, and even getting the opportunity to speak to them, because you're the boss.
Yeah. And I think there's some people that have been with us for 20 years, right? And they don't want to, they don't care about the fact that they've got different managers that they need to go and speak to, because they'll just get on the phone to me directly. And, you know, I don't want to change that because they've been doing that for most of their lives. It's only in the last few years they might have a line manager that actually they should speak to, and the line manager thinks, oh, well, why are you going to the boss for? Because, you know, what about me and A, B, C, and D? But I think it's nice that that's why you have that small scale family type of situation where you just don't say, well, actually you can't speak to him because you got to go to him first and do this and do that. I think that's that hierarchical structure which I don't feel comfortable with, to be honest. I think you have people in their positions and you should respect that, but you know, everyone should, you know, be able to speak to somebody else if they need to, because then you have a more transparent, open operation, right?
That's a nice link, Jeff, when you say somebody else you need to speak to, because obviously we might want to get into politics, and we've got a mutual friend hanging about trying to get in to talk to us, right? Now, that means, of course, that you and I ain't going to get a word in edgeways in the next 30 minutes or so, right? But people, and do you remember Bahal Singh? Did you ever meet Bahal Singh?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, we give him the Lifetime Achievement Award, the ABC,
okay,
the year before last, when he was 100, right? And sadly, he passed away at the beginning of this year. And I worked with him a load at Gateshead, and he was the one person who taught me, if you listen to politicians talk about multiculturalism, right? He didn't care what religion, where you were. He recognized, he was Sikh. He recognized Eid, Ramadan, some of the different Diwali, isn't it? You know, all that sort of stuff. It didn't matter which religion, he recognized it all, and he was absolutely great for Gateshead, multiculturalism. So when we talk about politicians in multiculturalism, I think they have a different perspective to the guy who I respected and loved as like a second father, somebody who was very good to listen to. So, of course, when we bring the Doc in, right, he's actually very good on the multiculturalism, because there isn't a temple or Gurdwara or anywhere he kind of go in the West End if he's playing his flute or doing whatever. So he's particularly good on the multiculturalism. And now we have to refer to him as Councillor Doc Anand, don't we?
Excellent. Hey, where is Doc? Is he
I'm trying to see if he's getting in now.
Okay.
But I've got to do a little text here to see if I can if we can let him in.
Well,
because
Doc is, for those that don't know, Doc is a veteran of Spice FM, a stonewall supporter, been there way before we even got introduced and started at Spice FM, which is over a decade now. So
well, absolutely.
And as you say, Doc is a very well-known personality within all different subcultures within the Asian community, and he goes to all of their events and he does this thing across the board, which is, you know, inspiring, really, because it's not everyone does what Doc does.
Well, and of course he's not on now, so we can act. Hasn't popped up. Be waiting for him. Look, I'm busy. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm texting the Doc, but on the same token, he might not like we're discussing his age. Let's just say he's a lot more mature.
Well, is he 85 or something now?
Oh no, don't say that. Goodness gracious, he's not come on. I was going to say he's more mature than you and I, but he'll get upset.
I think he's in his 80s, you know.
No, mid-70s.
No, he looks 65, but I think he's probably 85.
Obviously, we know him because his actual occupation was a doctor, and he was my doctor. And he always says,
"Was he really?"
Absolutely. I've known him since he joined in '83, right? And the practice, right? But obviously, I've become more friendly with him in the context of the work you, I, and Ammar and others have done over the years. But I just went to see him now and then, and he was a breath of fresh air to the practice, because there were two elderly practitioners. And then Doc came in like the whirling dervisher that he is, and changed everything and moved on and moved things along. And one of his little catch lines is he always says, Allan was my patient, and he's still alive. Right? That's the way he describes me.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Look,
yeah.
He's having real problems getting in here. Right?
Well, I'm sure we'll see when he does come in, because we'll get a kind of signal somewhere, won't we? That he's actually just on his. So where's my friend Ammar? Is he out of the country again, or is he out of the city?
He's doing one of his day seminars, as far as I'm aware, and telling people how to be as good as you and I. I mean, he probably counts us as his protege, if that makes sense. I tell you what, he has a totally different area, because I let Steve and the Doc work out and get him on. Do you know, obviously, one of the things I've taught you over the last 6-7 years is the appreciation of dogs.
Yep.
Right. So obviously, Winston's asleep at the minute. He might call through. You never know. And obviously, we had the issue with Poppy. But I'm fairly comfortable with things like guide dogs for the blind, right?
Right.
But I've never quite understood the assistance dog. And I was at Dalton Park the other week, and there was a dog, and it had a little collar on, always back. It had an L plate on. It said assistance dog under instruction. And I got talking to the parents, and it was a young lady who had the assistance dog, and she was autistic. And the dog assisted her not feeling alone in certain circumstances. And I thought that was quite interesting. And the reason I'm turning that round a little bit, because you know what I'm like with dogs, right?
Yeah.
So there's no problem there. But anybody who lets my dog in to any business I go to gets my business, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, bear in mind the conversation we had over the years, what's your view on dogs being in restaurants?
I don't particularly like the idea of the dogs being in the restaurant, but we do allow dogs, Alan, if you wanted to come to the veranda in Jesmond. It's a dog friendly veranda, so there are locals that bring their dogs and stay and dine. But I just don't feel. I mean, how would you then restrict that? Imagine you've got like a pit bull. Imagine they come and pee in the restaurant, poo in the restaurant.
Whoa, wait a minute, Jeff. I'm sorry to disturb you. We've got a satellite link from America or India or Pakistan. I'm not quite sure. Oh, wait a minute. Who is that man?
At the Trinity Church in Gosforth, opposite the shopping center, on my laptop with
wait a minute, Doc. Just let me stand up a little bit. Right. Okay. This is the new way we have to deal with the Doc.
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Come on. No, it's lovely to be, honestly, it's lovely to be with you guys, having achieved what was considered impossible. I can't tell you how chuffed I am. All I can say is hard work pays. That's all I can say.
Well, Doc, I was just explaining to Jeff, as we've been trying to get you on there, that we've known each other since 1983. We've been friends for the last 10 years, but you were my GP, and your standard phrase is, Alan's still alive, even though I was his GP.
The sound is very low. I think I should go inside. It's very noisy here. Okay. No. All I can say is I've worked very, very hard for 4 years. And against all odds, not only am I the first Conservative in 32 years, on a night where 463 Conservative with safe seats lost it, I, from nobody, I'm the only Conservative in the country that's won a seat. So all of you local guys should be proud of me. It's not for me, it's for Gosforth, Newcastle, and I'm so happy to tell you that.
Excellent.
Doc, how do you think, can you hear us all right or not?
It might be helpful if I picked you up on the phone as well and put the phone to my ear, though it looks...
Yeah. That's because, what are you ready? Can you hear? Can you hear me, Mother? One of those things, isn't it? Or you'll not understand that one, Jeff. That's an old one, right? I mean, do you know, in days gone by, we never even understood the words, you're on mute, did we? How many times do we use that now?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what's he
doing?
I think
let Doc do his thing and get connected. I think, as he said, it's a huge achievement to become a councillor in Gosforth as a Conservative, especially with how they performed in the election. So, you know, you've done very, very well, Doc.
It couldn't be a worse time to try and be a Conservative councillor.
Thank you, but I can't thank Allan enough, who's been. I mean, Allan, if you don't say anything, I'll say something. Allan is quite a humble guy, but sometimes prevents people respecting him. In all respect, I tell you, Allan has been such a force for good. From what, 2 years since we started our 1 o'clock club, Allan?
Yes.
And I've known this guy from 1st of February, 1983. And Allan, you've done very well in life and you inspire me a lot. Because from very humble beginnings, you had what, 500 people under you? And you had a big budget. No, it's a serious matter. You've done very well. And you know, all of us in this room, each one, Ammar Mirza, who's not at the minute there, Jalf, yourself, I've interviewed you on Spice and I know your heart. You're all solid, good people, not there for a quick buck. You do good for everyone else and some good also happens to you. And I think all of us in this room now, including Ammar, are people of that caliber. And that's why we've stuck on for a long time, you know. It's so easy to fall out. It's so difficult to stick together. But we have stuck together. And I think in Hindi they say, trailer hua hai, film abhi baki hai, means what you've seen up till now is just the trailer. The main movie is yet to come. And I hope to work with all of you. I don't care about the party. I don't care about religion or anything like that. It's about who does good for the region. I'm certainly blessed to have such good friends as you and the ABC. It's been a very important part of my journey, you know, from someone who was completely broken, son had died, become bankrupt. I could have become an alcoholic. I could have been a gambler, but none of that. I just worked. And now something good has come, you know, something impossibly good has come. So I thank everyone, especially you guys.
Yeah, well, Doc, I was saying to Jeff earlier on, obviously you knew Bahal Singh.
Allan, I'm lip reading. The sound is so poor.
Right. Right. Okay.
I'll see if I can go inside. You carry on.
Well, you go inside, Jeff, and
I'll go inside, and if it works out, fine. If not, thank you for the opportunity up till now.
Yeah.
There
okay.
That's the Trinity
Jeff,
Church.
We were just talking about dogs, so I assume you let guide dogs in, if that makes sense. If somebody
yeah, of course, guide dogs.
Have you had much experience of the assistance dog?
No, we do allow guide dogs in, but you know, we find with the guide dogs, they actually just come and they sit next to the person that they're guiding, I guess, and they just sit very quietly out of harm's way. They're not, you know, I think they're probably trained to behave in that way, are they, Allan?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, again, pulling it back to business, how many people recognize that, and restaurants are a little different to some places, right? Where I used to get my hair cut, some let me in with the dog, some didn't. But whoever actually allows my dog in gets my business. And I'm just thinking on the wider perspective, I think it's but I think it's becoming more prevalent that people are recognizing that if you let dog owners, well-behaved dogs, should we say, fit the context, you get more business. Dalton Park's a great example.
We don't let kids in the restaurant, man, Allan. I'm not going to let dogs in. After 5 o'clock, if you're below the age of 5, you're not coming in. So you know, we've got but in Jasmine, yes, outside in the veranda, it's fine. But I wouldn't want to. I mean, where do you draw the line? Imagine you go to a restaurant and there's a bulldog there, and it's like, you know, someone sets it off on you. What are you going to do then?
You know, I think it's
around the restaurants.
I think it's very fair for you, Jeff, in restaurant, and I accept that certain places and restaurants I can go to where they have like a dog section. But I actually recognise that some people do not want to eat near dogs. I was just thinking the broader perspective of people with differing businesses where they're not maybe dealing with food, whether they've recognised the dog world is actually. Somebody described me the other day as the pooch pound.
Sorry, say that again.
Pat. Somebody described it to me as the pooch pound. Right? Well, can you hear us now, Doc?
Yeah, very clearly now.
Right. Well, Jeff and I were talking earlier on, and I was mentioning Bahal Singh.
Yeah, well, he's such an inspiration, and he wouldn't take no for an answer, would he?
No, but what I was going to say was he taught me about multiculturalism as I think it's intended to be, as opposed to politics. And my view was you are also very good at the multiculturalism It doesn't matter where you go in the West
you
End,
know, I
whatever the
don't,
religion.
I'm
you're
slightly
accepted.
different. I'm slightly different. I don't look for differences and then make up.
Don't put a kettle on, please.
Alan, I don't see you as a pink guy or a white guy. I just see you as another person I know and like.
He's a pink guy. He's a pink guy today, though.
Yeah, but it's the color, it's the light, it's all the rest of it, right? I'm going to have to get some better sort of
seriously,
cameras.
you know, from childhood, I've never seen any difference. I'm like a child. I don't see Jalf as a Bangladeshi. And I've interviewed you guys. I know your hearts. You know, I don't need to look at your skin. I know what's inside the book. I don't need to see the cover. Seriously.
No, and that's purposely why I'm using the word multiculturalism, where I do think in the broader perspective, we've got some idea what it is, as opposed to we're all individuals and takers for what we are.
Exactly. And, you know, I believe in pluralism because everyone has a different gift, you know, everyone has something to teach me, even you, Allan Curry.
Doc, can you explain what pluralism means, please? Because
pluralism means I don't look for differences in people and then say, oh, you're different, but I like you. You're not different. I don't see you, Jalf, as any different from me. You're part of me. Simple as that. I don't look for the differences and then say, okay, though you are a Bengali origin, though you're a Muslim, that doesn't enter the picture, you know. So I think for some people, it is necessary to say we are different and yet we are friends. We are different, but we are friends. I'm not different from you. I'm you.
Yeah. Okay, so Doc, just on your plans now then for after you're the councillor of, is it?
Right.
It is Gosford, right?
It is Gosford, but let me tell you something.
What is your plans then, let's say, for the next 6 months?
Okay. Yeah. I've been sitting with NE1 already today for 1 hour and 20 minutes because they've got experience, and what they have is don't just fill the potholes, make a bad place good.
But, sorry, Doc, can I just ask, but NE1 is a city centre organisation, right?
Yeah, but they have the skill, and many of the officers live in my part. So I know that, and I've known many of them for 15 years, you know, and laterally as voters, and they're very good source of information. So they said, yeah, you're going to fill the potholes, but what are you going to do to better things? You're not just a repair agency. You're not a firefighter. I know you. You're not just a health chap who just says, here's some tablets. What are you going to do? So we have decided that the park and this church behind me are two places to really work on, and the Civic Center and the Gosford Center, to improve them, to fill the shops that are empty. So today I'm going into the council to already look for who owns those empty shops and phone them and say, what's your plans? Can you lend it to a charity for 6 months for no cost or for minimal cost? You know, actively go. I mean, you as a businessman, you don't just go and repair your shop. You're looking out with all the time to expand, to grow. Otherwise, you'll be static and drown. He was giving me the same idea. He said, look, do you know any of the owners of this of the shopping center? I said, yes, I do. He says, phone them, have an appointment with them. Don't just fix potholes. Don't just talk about little things. In the park, there's so much can be done. These are the two beauties spots. So we are thinking how to improve the children's play area instead of just say, oh, there's a damage, this repair. So what I've learned today in the hour and a half is don't just do damage repair, which I'm okay for. It's much easier now that I'm in the council than when I was out with. He said, that's easy. You just take a photo and send it to the officer. You now got their list. He said, that's the easy bit, but think of how to make it better. So I've already had a meeting this morning. They said, one of our directors is away from tomorrow. I said, I want to see you today. And I was just sitting in Costa from 10:15 till 11:15 with the director. So I'm already seeking, and if people like you, Jalf, you can tell me if there's anything. And okay, I'm a Gosford guy. Doesn't mean I can't improve anything in Jasmine.
And don't forget graffiti, Doc.
Again?
Don't forget the graffiti.
Yeah. I mentioned that day before was our initiation day, and I can't tell you how happy I am. The chief executive came, sat down, and she said, okay, we'll go around introducing. Doc, can you tell everyone who you are? It's such an honor.
Well,
they all know me.
That'll take 3 hours.
No, 5 minutes. I said, I'm here to make friends with people who don't like me. That is the councillors. And I'm here to understand the officers. It's true they don't like me at all, you know. What can I do?
Doc, can I ask, as a councillor, what is your kind of remit and what kind of power do you have?
Okay. How I see it, having been just in the job for 2 days, My remit is to connect the taxpayer with the deliverers. You are paying your council tax, you're paying your business rates and all that. What the hell do you get back for it? And my style is different. So I've decided not to just do a street clinic, which the others do, because there's 10 Tories and one little lady wanting to talk. She'd be diffident, So I'm going to actually rent rooms, and they're willing to pay rent for it. They've never done this before, the council. Nobody has actually bothered to rent a room because people feel I won and that's it. No, I've just got a what do you call, a green learner's driver's license. I need to actually start to drive. And so my role is to connect you, the taxpayer, with the council. I'll bring officers out. I say in my clinic, you come, send your junior most, let people talk to them on a regular basis. Give yourself, don't hide behind emails and all. Approach people. There's a thing called Fix My Street. It's very easy to do. We don't have it. So every time I reported a pothole, I had to, who's reporting? Doc Anand, 12 Canton, blah, blah, blah. Every time I had to fill it, And I'm saying, why isn't there an account I can make so I can keep reporting? They don't understand, and subconsciously people make it difficult. I'm going to make it easy.
Are you able to stop them closing roads and causing lots of queues unnecessarily?
I will do my best. Yes, I will do my best. I will meet with the transport saying, what have you gained? You've tested in Jasmine. It's been an abysmal failure. Please don't even think of doing it in Gosforth.
It's not so bad in Gosforth, Doc, but it's dreadful in Jasmine, isn't it?
Horrendous.
Yes. Yeah. They came with the great ideas. Okay, we do want clean air, but if you block all the side roads, the high street will be jammed from beginning to end. There'll be no traffic and every.
Yeah, but the clean air stuff, the catalytic converters, did that not deal with the fumes coming from the exhaust many, many years ago?
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, which is not my brief as a mere councillor, I mean, England produces what, 5%?
If that.
Some abysmal
number. Probably not that. It's probably not even that.
Maybe 1%. I don't know. So the main source is the poorer countries. China, no longer poor, but big producer. India, Brazil. That's where all the stuff is being produced. So it's to help and train them rather than being so perfect here. What for?
So we have to stay in an hour in a queue just to help the Brazilians and their targets. And it's not going to make much difference to that overall target.
I'll give an example. In India, they are working on two things. They are working on solar paneling in a very big way. Because, just like OPEC countries produce oil, India is saying, let's have countries that produce solar energy. And it just means cheaper solar panels and so on. And we can have it here as well. And I think we are going about it in a wrong way. We are going about it in a very virtuous signaling way. We'll only have cyclists. Well, you're a businessman. If you couldn't get in your car and go where you needed to go on the spur of the moment, because you're an opportunist, you're a businessman. You can't wait for the bus, by then the idea will have died. Would you agree with me? You need to be flexible, and you can't just take bus route.
Doc, I'm even more cynical than that, because I was in post when they transferred the road safety parking wardens across to the city councils, and the legislation specifically said this should not be seen as a cash cow. And without exception, everywhere I've been locally and probably nationally, people are making money out of the motorist by penalising them for parking. We've got more parking wardens than we ever did. They've got cycle lanes, they've shut off roads, and there's some creative accounting there because I've checked it. But you will see that a lot of councils are making millions out of the motorist.
And what are you achieving, as Jeff is pointing out? It's mere 1% of the total global warming. Because air moves,
Air moves. You can always cover the fact you're making millions by the clean air scenario and the other one being road safety. How do you argue against those things?
Well, and then you look at the decision makers of something like the train station. That's your entry point to our beautiful city, right?
Yeah.
And you enter the city, yeah, it's fine. But if you imagine that someone's going to drop you off to catch your train, I mean, what they've done to that route and what they've done to access into the train station is absolutely horrendous. And they keep on taking away more parking. You can't even drop off anywhere. You're blocking off the roads. Quite dangerous.
Jaffe, there needs to be dialogue between the people who are providing and the taxpayer. You need to be able to hold them to account. I mean, behind me, they held a meeting in that church, right? And there were 6 officers that came. And I went to the meeting, though I avoid meetings because I'll say the truth and people hate me more. So anyway, I asked all of them, they all came with their backpacks. I said, how many of you drive? None of them put their hand up, So if the officers are all cyclists, they have no understanding of us. You need a car as well. I mean, I also have an e-bike, and I pedal when I can, but that's a luxury. It's for my health. It's not because I can replace all the work I do with a bike. Otherwise, it's a whole day business. Oh, let's go here, 2 hours, this, 3 hours. Life is too short, man. And you cannot replace, in this country, it'll take a very, 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 very long time to have public transport at that level.
Newcastle is not Amsterdam.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Our city is our city. You know, it's got a certain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's grown and it's got a history, and the history of our city is not driving cycles, but Amsterdam is a city based on canals, whatever roads, and whatever reason everyone's got a bike. Good on you. That's what you've brought up to do, and your city infrastructure suits that. But it doesn't in Newcastle upon Tyne. So we should respect the history of our city and embrace it and work on it. If you ever look at Grey Street, the beautifulest city, curved street in the whole of Europe.
Yes.
And what on earth do you need to even touch that city and spend, I don't know how much you spent, 10 million quid, 15 million quid, I don't know. But you've just spent all that money to gain nothing, just take away all of the parking that was so convenient for people that might want to just hop into the back 5 minutes, park up and come out. And they've made a decision to pedestrianize it. That street doesn't need pedestrianizing. I understand Northumberland. I've got a picture of Northumberland Street on my phone when it wasn't pedestrianized on the yellow buses.
I can remember it.
Yeah, and then great decision to pedestrianize it. It's the hub of all the retail. Fantastic decision. No one's going to qualm with that. But Grey Street and what they're doing in that area is just absolutely shocking.
I'll tell you what's interesting, bringing it back to business. If you went to a meeting, Doc, with 6 people who cycled to the meeting, how do you then plan for work? Because if you've got to cycle backwards and forwards in your 8-hour day, why am I paying people to cycle and be fit as opposed to work for an 8-hour day and maximizing that time for the business of the council?
Well, what a great point.
Yeah.
And cycling suits the person who's got a 9-to-5 job, and they've got this to do and that. People with regular lives, and nothing wrong with that. Society needs regularity.
In your free time,
the Jalfs
not
and
your
Ammar
business time.
of this world who are creating business. They can't go around on a bike thinking new ideas. They just can't do it. Jalf, would you agree with me? If you're an entrepreneur, then you use the bike just for health.
I don't know. You know what? If you want to stay fit, I mean, Ammar works out every day. I work out 5 days a week. You can stay fit without taking your bike around everywhere. And whatever cause you think you may have, or well, I'm going to reduce the CO,
emissions,
the emissions, or whatever else, all of these buzzwords that I can't keep on top of. But I just don't think. Imagine me riding a bike and trying to think that just pops up in your head, and I'm just thinking I might get hit by a bus. It's just not the right place to be creative and to think, is it?
Exactly.
So I like Alan said, I just can't see how productive that would be in terms of the work and how productive you are. I can't see many entrepreneurs riding around in their bikes to work back and forth.
But even if you're doing shopping, even if you're shopping, how many toilet rolls can you carry on your bike?
Yeah,
you can't. I mean, and by the time you've seen bikers, I've also got a bike. By the time you've taken this off, that off, it spends a lot of the car. You just park, click, done.
Yep.
You just wear the car, go somewhere, click, done. So whereas the world is going forwards, I mean, have the bikes as a luxury. It cannot replace in my lifetime, your lifetime, perhaps even.
I'm not a cyclist. I'm not a cyclist lover, and I don't mind my staff cycling to work and cycling home. I just don't see why they should be cycling in my time.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is just really sensible, isn't it? It's a sensible conversation that we're having. But these days, if you try and make a sensible point, someone comes up and tells you, no, you're just being a bit crazy. It's like backward and A, B, C, and D. I'm thinking, you know, get a grip, man.
Yeah.
You know, get a
But
grip.
to be sensible, you have to be sometimes unpopular. And I'm happy to be unpopular, but do what feels right, you know.
An unpopular view. It's just a normal, sensible view that everyone should look at it as that. But you've got many people who have got so many, you know, crazy views on certain things, following whatever, wherever they've got it from. I remember speaking to this young lady a few years ago, and she was a girl that was worked in the restaurant, and she was saying that she was a vegan, and she said that I'm dreaming of the day that there are no farming and there's no chickens and there's no cows and everything's manufactured in a factory. And I'm thinking, you need to like listen to what you're saying, because I understand and I respect those that are vegan, because I think it's a great thing that you're just going to stay vegetarian, number one, but within that you're going to only eat plant-based food. Like, fantastic, great for your diet, continue to do it. But then those same individuals are also happy to eat like cheese made vegan in a factory with lots of little processed items to create something and call it vegan, call it cheese, and you're eating and it's got lots of chemicals and lots of unnatural things in that dish. So you're defying your whole logic of being vegan and eating some natural food in the first place.
Yeah, and I'm always fascinated. I'm not vegan, and good luck to you. I couldn't care less what people want to eat as long as they don't impose on me. But why do you want vegan sausages and vegan beef burgers? Because
you know,
exactly, just eat it as it is then.
Yeah.
It's like alcohol-free beer or something. Just don't drink.
Well, Doc, that's not a conversation I'm prepared to have.
Is Pat listening or what?
And it might be your turn on Monday as well, mind.
Yes, it's my turn.
Hello.
You're very welcome.
Although, to be fair, we might be.
Why doesn't Jalf come to one of our clubs? Jalf,
he's too busy.
Ever free.
I wouldn't fit in with.
On a Monday we have a 1 o'clock club, and people, very entrepreneurial people, and you're certainly one of them. You're very welcome. Allan, it's your job to remind him. And Ammar.
And Ammar. Well, he's busy. He's busy teaching.
Get them to the 1 o'clock club.
Yeah. He's busy teaching people how to progress in business. That's why I'm off the subs bench and you are today with our man, Jalf.
Okay, well, thank you, Ammar, for staying away. Because we talk as people, we don't kind of have an agenda. We speak spontaneously. We speak as it is. Make mistakes as well. But if you're always so letter perfect, you're telling lies, you know. If you're always right and nobody hates you, you're telling lies.
I think hate's a strong word, but I mean, you can have emotional debate. That's a better word of putting it. But you know, one of my favorite books, and when anybody reads it in business, is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends
and Influence People.
Jeff, have you ever read it or not?
No.
Well, if you get a chance.
I read it at the age of 16. I still haven't got the hang of it.
But do you do the Audible stuff on books or things like that sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes, rarely.
Well, have a listen to Dale Carnegie.
I think it's a world beater.
It's a very
well established.
It's the author is Dale Carnegie, and he wrote it in the early 1900s. And for anybody listening about business, it's a particularly good way to learn about management and leadership. Some of the things he mentions in there.
Yeah.
Honestly, and going back to your original point, Jalf, how the business is expanding and you're having to learn new skills with different employees with different skills. Some of the little ways of operating in there won't do you any harm to listen to, if that makes sense. And that's not me teaching you, but it's my favorite book in management and leadership, How to Win Friends and Influence People. We joke about the title. Dale Carnegie, he wrote it in the early 1900s, and it's absolutely, I see him as the business guru of everything else that's been wrote since.
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Honestly, it will help you. Trust me.
Okay.
Trust me, that's what I used to say. Trust me, I used to be a policeman, and that's where my wife. That's where my wife said.
I used to be a doctor. Which is even worse, like.
Exactly, and that's what. Well, obviously, we both know Pat. I'll say, trust me, I used to be a policeman. She says, no way. And you both know Pat, so I'm not telling tales out of school, am I, Jalf? I mean, Jeff, you've had more cuddles off Pat than I have.
But you know, Alan, there's another thing I've learned in the last 4 years as a counselor attemptee, that you win an argument and you lose a friend. So if anyone even uses 4-letter words against me, Doc Anand from the local Conservatives standing again in May, would you consider supporting me? Before that, they've used 4-letter words beginning with F, and I say thank you and walk away. That has been very difficult. As a doctor, you're taught to engage and listen carefully, but they're abusing me, you know. I just turn around and walk away, and they're saying, excuse me, I just walk away.
Well,
but I don't get excited, I don't get angry anymore.
Well, you brought me back to Dale Carnegie, because he taught me, one of the things he says, Daff, is the only way to win an argument, don't argue. Because you're never going to change people's point of view, and what the doc's saying is exactly right. If somebody's going to say, I dislike, I don't want to, you're not going to change his mind. Or her mind, because that's what
That's the thing I learned during Europe.
Do you think so, though? Is that not where constructive kind of discussions come into play, where you should?
But that's, you know, Jalf, that happens if you and I are equal. I'm good in one field, you're in another. You respect each other. But often arguments are about egos, aren't they? I mean, in business, you've been long enough not to be egotistic and get the job done because you've risen above it. But most people argue from the ego point of view. I think so. Who are you to tell me? So we are taught in neuro-linguistic programming, never ask why. So if somebody makes, say Alan was my employee, God forbid, suppose he was my employee, and he did something silly, instead of telling him off, I said, look, Alan, generally you're pretty damn good, you know. There was something you did that day, which I find a very strange, but you're pretty good, you know, the shit sandwich idea. Rather than, Alan, why did you do this? So when you say why, the person will recoil and make excuses, and you'll never win, you know, never. So the why question is not a good question. How did you manage to be such an idiot is a better way of saying it.
Look, I'm watching the time here, so we're nearly up to our hour. Do you think you and I'll get off the subs bench again, Doc, or will it just be Ammar and Jalf taking on board and they've had enough?
No, again, I repeat, I'm delighted to have won, but I'm delighted even more to be surrounded by such good friends. And Ammar Mirza, by the way, I'm very humble. The coat I wear is given by Ammar Mirza to me 6 years ago. I already, and you know the best part of Ammar Mirza, he dry cleaned it before he gave it to me.
That's the man.
No, but that's the beauty. No, that is the attention to detail.
No, but he's OCD as well, don't forget.
Yeah, he's definitely OCD.
So he didn't do it because he loves me. He does it because he can't help it. Very unkind. So thank you, gentlemen. And Jalf,
I didn't mean to spoil the moment.
Really good to have you on the show, Doc, and congratulations again. And hopefully,
thank you, my friend.
People of Gosforth are gonna be in for a ride. Let's say.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Alan.
Yeah.
It's really nice to have you on the show as well.
Yeah, good
and
to meet you again,
Jalf. We'll have you on again very, very soon. And hopefully Ammar will be back next week to lead the show because he does a far better job than I could ever.
Only if he can follow the Doc and I, if he's got the skills, we'll listen and find out.
Well, I'm sure you will invite him to your event. I'm sure he'd love to come along. He's probably got loads of extra time.
And Jalf, see you for a coffee sometime on the high street or wherever you want. You know, I love talking to businessmen because the entrepreneurs, they think outside the box. That's why they do well. I don't want to be a politician stuck in the party and stuck in one idea. Love to see you soon. Okay. Bye for now.
We're breaking up. We must be going, Jalf. Cheers.
High Street has evolved a lot in the last few months in there. It's going to change. Cool. Yeah. We'll see you soon, Alan.
Take care, Jalf. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.